What is going on, y'all? Tech me out here, and in my hand right now I have the Galaxy Z Fold 3. I have been wanting to test out and try a foldable phone for the longest. So in this video, what I want to do is talk about my first impressions of this phone, especially being a first-time user of this kind of design. You know, it's a little bit of a learning curve, and it's an adjustment there. So I want to talk to you about that, the things I like, the things I don't like. So let's get right on into it. So just a heads up, this is going to be like a really casual approach. I'm going to do a follow-up review where I go a little bit deeper into things as I continue to test this out a little bit more to see if that, you know, new factor wears off. Because you know, when you first get a phone, especially something that's innovative like this, it has that wow factor, that new factor where you're just amazed. Period. You know, so I'd like to see how I feel about a month out from now, as well as get some questions from you all down below in the comment section. So feel free to drop those as we go along. But first thing I want to talk about is the design of this. I love the versatility of this. I love having a screen that, you know, is more of your traditional size, and then being able to open it up and have a screen that is much larger. So the way that I find myself interacting with this is kind of checking on things via the cover screen real quick. But even in saying that, I think between the two modes, I definitely use the dual displays a lot more. I just like the way content looks on it. I love how I can handle my work on it. So more than not, I'm in this mode versus this mode. And you hear that? The little, you can't avoid it no matter how soft you try to close it. It's gonna do that little clamp sound, almost like a little coin purse. So yeah, you can't close the phone quietly. Now, as far as how I would say it feels in hand, it reminds me a lot of like my iPhone inside of a wallet case, or just imagine putting two phones on top of each other. That's kind of how this feels. It's not the best in pocket experience. Like, I feel better just putting this in my bag than in my pocket, especially because of the material of the phone. It tends to slip out of my pocket. But even still, in considering that, thankfully this is made of a stronger material. Now, this button layout. We got a power button over here on the right, volume button as well, and that is about it. With your SIM tray, because there's no, you know, micro SD card slot, which is a bummer, especially at this $17.99 price tag. That's something that I would have loved to have seen, but it is what it is. And then moving along to the bottom, we have our USB-C charging port and a speaker. So what I personally have noticed is that my fingers sometimes naturally rest on the power button, which is good and bad. So it's good because it allows me to, you know, naturally and easily unlock my phone without fumbling. It's bad when I'm trying to like maneuver the phone and rotate it. So it does get in the way for me sometimes. And the 120 hertz display is nice. It just makes everything just that much more fluid and that much more of a better experience.
Don't judge me for that, okay? But I am Plastic Cam, link it below. I talk about mid fashion, and
everything is just solid. The only time I think I found the device kind of freezing for me was when I was going from the cover display to the inner display. Sometimes it would hang up, especially in having a security lock set up here, which for me was my face, fingerprint, and a pattern. And I can fairly comfortably use this with one hand, you know, but when I'm consuming media, like when I'm on Instagram and things like that, I tend to be in this mode right here, one hand placed here, and that's when I sometimes will actually hit the power button, but it also puts my hands in a good position to quickly adjust the volume as needed. So like I said, having my fingers near those buttons is a good and a bad thing. And speaking of Instagram, oh my God, when you enable that labs feature, it takes this to a whole nother level for an experience, because Instagram just looks so good. Now, as far as handling my business task up here, I'm solid. I'm good. I actually am using this as my work phone. I know a couple of things I enjoy doing are like pairing apps. So for example, over here in my edge drawer, I have quick access to YouTube and Notion, because sometimes I'm doing research on YouTube and it's just nice to be able to come over here and just jot down my notes. And if you're curious how I made that app pair, or just some other tips and tricks for the Galaxy Z Fold 3, I have already done a video on that, so I'll link it somewhere up in here as well as down below in the description. But while talking about pairing apps, it is a whole nother level of multitasking that you get up here. So you see we got 2 apps here, but we can actually have 3 apps up here. So I can just take that, drag it over here, and now I have YouTube, Notion, and my settings open over here. So this is a lot. But one thing you can't do is have 4 apps open, like one here, 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 and here. You're limited to these 3. And you can just tap these 3 dots here to just slide it about so you can resize it as necessary in case I want YouTube bigger for something. And because the screen is so large, when you're doing certain things, you're able to have a more detailed view. Entertainment. That up here has been just a joy. Now flex mode, that's cool because I can have the YouTube video playing on the top half of the screen and then view the comment section down here on the bottom, where normally on most phones you can only do one or the other, either watch the video or go into the comments. So with this, I'm able to do both without having to pull out something larger than this, like a tablet or a computer. And this folding mode is also super handy when I'm sitting down and I'm eating and I want to watch a YouTube video. I don't have to create a little makeshift stand because this pretty much has it built into it. I can just prop it up like this and watch my video, be good to go. Now I know I mentioned earlier the labs feature, which just to kind of dive into that a little bit more, it lets you adjust the aspect ratio for any app on your phone because not all apps currently will take advantage of the full screen on the Fold 3. And that really impacted the experience for me because if I wasn't able to have, my favorite or more commonly used applications take advantage of this big, beautiful screen, I don't know, I definitely feel like it might have put a little damper on things, Another feature that I like up here is the option to pin the edge drawer or pin my favorite apps by tapping these 3 lines and hitting pin so that it just stays stagnant up here, which has been really nice, especially when I'm working and I'm in and out of all these different applications. This was definitely useful, and then I could just tap the pin when I didn't need it anymore. So that helped impact my workflow for sure. Now, I will say by default, when you come up here to type, the keyboard is separated. I personally like it like this. It feels natural to me. At most, I did go into the settings and make it just a little bit larger so that it's closer towards the middle, but still not touching. But I feel like most of the time when I was using this, this was the best way to type. And I didn't have that many typos when I was using it in this format, but that cover display, that keyboard hits a little bit different. It's a bit more compact. Even though I adjusted the size of it, I still kind of found it a little weird to type on because of the aspect ratio of this screen. And even in using apps on the cover display, it's not a terrible experience at all. It's just different, because it's not your traditional aspect ratio. Like as you can see here, it's definitely not the average width of a phone. So it takes some getting used to, but it's not a deal breaker at all. Now, another new feature with this is the S Pen. So what I have is the S Pen Fold Edition. This one isn't battery operated or anything like that. So it instantly starts working as soon as it interacts with the fold here. But I love being able to use these air commands. It just takes this experience to that next level. Especially in having a screen this size, a stylus can come in hand. The one thing I did notice though is that the little crease here sometimes does get in the way so that it isn't as responsive as it could be, but it's not to a point where it's annoying or anything like that, but just more so something that I noticed and worth mentioning. But I really enjoy not only controlling my device with the S Pen, but also utilizing the unique features that it provides, like Smart Select and Screen Write, the option to quickly translate, or one of my personal favorites, opening up an application and then tapping on the air command icon, going down to glance, and having a little thumbnail here that I can quickly access as needed by just hovering over it, and it'll give me a quick preview of the app in full screen mode. So that's something that's dope. And the S Pen has a auto retractable tip, so it definitely helps reduce any accidental damage to the front display. I do wish it was a better way for it to adapt to the phone though. Like this just feels like a loose key on a key ring, this being the key ring and this being, the lone key, because people are bound to lose this right here just hanging separate from that. You can get the case that will allow you to dock it inside of it, but from what I've seen, the case isn't that great. So it's just something to consider. I do say the S Pen is worth picking up. It just comes in handy, especially when using a device like this. Now, when it comes to the battery up here, it definitely can get me through most of the day, but I will say in having a phone this large, I just naturally feel like it should be even better. And as for the camera, it's not bad. I will definitely say the rear facing cameras are the true winners here in terms of the selfie cam on the cover display, as well as the rear facing cameras. Those are the ones that's going to give you the best quality. This one here for the under display, it's not that good, you know, but at least you have one there in the event that you need it. I personally find myself using this one the least, and not simply because of the quality of it, but more so because the other cameras were a little bit easier to access. I feel like the main scenario in which I found myself using the interior camera was when I basically wanted to prop the phone up to grab a photo, whether that be of myself or with someone else. But outside of that, the exterior cameras were the ones that I would default to use. And there's also a cool tracking option so that you can tap on something within frame and it'll track that person. And a follow option, I think is what it's called, where basically it will adjust the camera angle by zooming in and out as necessary.
Oh! It did it.
Go back.
Second. There you go.
Back and then come in close. And go to the left.
Oh, try it.
Look at him.
And handless selfies are even better, where you can just hold up your hand and take a photo.
My teeth look so big.
And I gotta say, I also love that I can now wirelessly connect to Dex to my MacBook. So that makes it even easier now for me to get photos from my phone to my computer wirelessly. But I'm gonna throw some pictures and videos up real quick and let you just kind of get your own thoughts and opinions of them. But overall, y'all, I'm really feeling this. I'm not even gonna lie. I love the concept here. It's just different, you know what I mean? Like, especially with phones trying to figure out just how can they stand out amongst the market. This right here definitely does. It's gonna turn heads. Because the moment you open this up, conversations are gonna start. Especially if you have any fellow techies around you, be prepared. But this was a little bit longer than I even intended it for it to be. I just really wanted to kind of give you my initial thoughts of this. But overall, I'm enjoying it. I do recommend it. It's just at that price of $17.99, you really have to evaluate your options in terms of what you need. But I'm gonna end it here before I ramble some more. Be sure to drop your questions down below in the comment section that you have, and I'll do a follow-up review answering those questions. But in the meantime, I'm gonna throw some videos on screen that you can check out. And as always, thanks for taking the time out to let me tech you out.